small review and possibly just some of my thoughts on the series. Well, the prequel really, Codename Sailor V, which is the prequel or the prototype to Sailor Moon. There are 2 books in the series. When this was originally released, it was 3, but for the re-release, they've condensed it down into 2, so these are actually quite thick. And when Naoko came to the studio to try and get this done as an anime, allegedly her editor said to her, "That's great, now do it with 5 girls." And thus they started work on Sailor Moon. And actually, in Volume 2, you can see there are some pictures, I believe, of the transitional period from Sailor V to Sailor Moon. But while she was working on Sailor Moon, she decided to tie it to Sailor V and that Sailor V would be a prequel, and that the main character of Sailor V, Minako, would appear as a character in Sailor Moon. So basically, this is the story of Minako, the first Sailor Guardian to awaken, and chronicles, well, basically her first few fights with evil, and how and rounds off with, well, basically where Sailor Moon begins, with the other Senshi or Guardians awakening, and her going off to find them. Now, as with all the English editions that Kodansha re-released, the colors are a lot more vivid on the English editions. Although you'll have to take my word for it because I don't have the Japanese. But they've obviously been enlarged from their smaller Japanese size and haven't lost any visible quality. And this is very exciting because this is the first time Codename Sailor V was ever released in the western part of the world. So we get a few color pages, which are very beautiful. And the artwork is pretty much in line, although you can tell that in some cases that this came before Sailor Moon, although the last 2 chapters, which tie the story into Sailor Moon, they're of a different style because I believe they were drawn while she was doing Sailor Moon, the Dream arc, I believe. But anyway, this is about Minako, I believe I've said for the 3rd time already, and how she meets Artemis, who tells her that she is the guardian of Venus. Sailor Venus, and although it's codenamed Sailor Moon. Though I do find it a bit odd. The story develops from there, but I find it a bit odd that she introduces herself both as Sailor Venus and as Sailor V. But that might just be the translation. Now this was translated by obviously by the same person who did Sailor Moon, and it's got some of the same problems, such as one of the characters that's called Bro during Volume 1, and then at the beginning of Volume 2 he's called Bro, but as you get further in he's called Oni-san, which is basically which in Japan you would call someone if you had a big brother relationship with, not implying that he is anybody's big brother. Well, maybe he is, I haven't got a clue. But basically, I feel that's a bit of a step back in translation, because it's just reverting something to its Japanese equivalent. And ironically, doing that made it sound better in English, made it less jarring, because Minako says on one occasion, "Oh, it's Bro," which doesn't really make sense in English, and besides, that's really what guys would call each other. It's not something you'd call your older sibling all the time, especially not a 14-year-old girl. Another problem with this translation is she calls her mum and dad mummy and daddy, which doesn't seem right for I don't know a single 14-year-old girl who would say mummy and daddy. Most of us had graduated to mum and dad by that time. So he's trying to make, don't really think he's done a very good job of making the characters sound like 14-year-olds. In fact, they sound, in the cases where they say mummy and daddy, it sounds more like they're 8. Sorry, this review's a bit all over the place. It's unscripted. I'll do better next time. And I apologize for the fact that these are both library copies. But anyway, what I believe is that this is a must for Sailor Moon fans, and if you liked the Sailor Moon manga, you should definitely check this out. I think the beginning chapters in Volume 1 and the end chapters in Volume 2 are well worth paying the price for them, or at least checking them out in your local library. The stories in between are a bit off. They're all a bit similar, and the battles that take place within them last about 2 seconds, and they always end the same way, which you do get a tiny bit tired of, but like I said, the end chapters in Volume 2 definitely make up for that. So that's pretty much it. I would actually, although if people are wondering though which to read first, I would recommend reading the first story arc of Sailor Moon first, because otherwise this spoils one of the plot twists of Sailor Moon. Though if you're already a Sailor Moon fan, you'll already know what that is. Okay, well that was my review. Sorry it was a bit all over the place. I'll do better next time. Hope to see you guys again.